On the AM show, time now for us to get into the news, a review. Of course, show started, as always, by Sweetie Abochi. Hope you stayed with her for the news. Right now, though, we get into the news review. And this segment, as always, is brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And here's what they are offering you. If you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. And here's where you can locate them across the length and breadth of Ghana. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronomabwe behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji State, there's Tema Community 22, there's Techiman Huntsway and Siamanzama. Their call lines remain 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, and joining us, as Sweetie announced, the MPP's parliamentary candidate hopeful for Botiano, Englishi, Amanfro constituency, Vida Ajakum Echampong. She's a lawyer. Good morning, Vida.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join the conversation this morning. And since it's our first interaction, I'd just like to find out a little bit about you. I know you're a lawyer.
Yes.
Beyond that, who is Vida Ajakum?
Well, Vida Ajakum Echampong, I am resident of Botiano Englishi Amanfrom constituency.
Right.
In fact, I call myself a teacher, also a lecturer, and a journalist too. I've done all of those before becoming a lawyer. I've been a teacher at all the various levels of education, basic, secondary, tertiary. I've taught at the JE University College, Media Law, Media Ethics. I've also taught at the UCOMS, University College of Management Studies, Company and Partnership Laws. And I was a basic teacher within the constituency, tutoring the young ones. And I'm proud to say that on the 27th, 5 of the people who are going to vote for me are people I taught when they were children.
You mean the delegates? Some of these delegates?
Some of these delegates.
That's an interesting one.
I've also been a correspondent for Africa Radio in London, so I'm a friend of the media. And so I'm also a lawyer, as you have already said. So I'm a woman of many professions, and I've lived within the Botiano English Amanfrom community for the past 25 years. And that is why I seek the mandate of the people to serve them as their next member of parliament.
Okay, so just to focus a bit on that. You say you've lived in the constituency for 25 years.
Yes.
And then you added, that is why I seek to represent the people. I'm sure there are
That's
people who have lived.
That's one of the many reasons why.
Now there you go.
One of the many reasons.
But let me just sneak this by you. For all of those who have come here, all the members of parliament, would-be members of parliament, want to be members of parliament who have passed through, and now because of your primaries, all of you coming through, from the Hayford Sians to the Palgrave, Boachedanquers, and all of that. What sets you apart? Like you mentioned, I mean, there are a number of those going. And in fact, you're going against the incumbent, Sylvester Tete,
So,
who is also a force to reckon with. I'd like to find out from you, what makes you stand out? What makes you think you can get the nod? Especially when we also know that in our politics, the fact is women tend to be marginalized in many ways. You look at the numbers in parliament, you look at women ministers, it paints a certain picture. So what has given you the courage and what makes you think you can do this?
thank you very much. I've been with the party for many years. I've served the party both within the constituency and out of the constituency. Out of the 3 people contesting, I'm the only one who has served in a capacity as a polling station secretary within the constituency. And so I've been with the
past experience.
Yes, I've been with the grassroots. I am still with them. In fact, I'm voting myself on Saturday. And so I'm one of the people who go up and down, run up and down, making sure that things get fixed within the party in the constituency. So the delegates see me as one of them. I am not somebody who is coming from somewhere to seek their mandate, but I am coming from among them, asking them to support one of their own who understands them, who knows their plight, who understands the work they do, knows the sacrifices they make for the party, and is asking for them to back her, to send her to Parliament so that she can also go and advocate for a portion of the national cake for them. Aside this, as I said, we need somebody who is saleable in December or November if the date gets changed.
Someone who can be sold by the party. Do you think Sylvester Tete can be sold?
Well, I believe once he's the MP, he has ever been sold and bought. But the question
that's
is...
interesting.
Yes,
he's been sold and bought.
And bought.
Right.
But the question is, are the people ready to buy him again? That is what we need to ask ourselves.
What do you think?
For me, I believe the people are calling for a change. And so we must give them the change they are calling for. The people who are voting on Saturday are only 1,140 people. Right. But we have more than 100,000, about 109,000 registered voters within our constituency. These people are the people who will decide who becomes the next MP. So the question the delegates need to ask themselves is, if we send Honorable Sylvester again, will the people accept him? I believe that the people may not accept him because they've given us the signs that they want a change.
What are these signs?
For the first time in the constituency, the drivers have come together to demonstrate against the bad state of roads and other things within the constituency. So they have given us the signal that they are not happy with the current leadership and they are asking us to change. And so if we do not change, if we do not listen to them, we run the risk of losing the seat. And that is what we need to guard against, to ensure that we do not lose the seat, but we rather retain the seat. So when I go around, I tell them, BNA, it's time to change to retain the seat. And so I always tell people, any leader you bring into office will have something to do for the people. But the question is, will the people be satisfied with the person's performance?
Right.
Sometimes when you promise watermelons and you deliver oranges, the people may not be happy. But when you have not promised an orange and you deliver an orange, or you promise a lime, but you deliver an orange, the people may be happy with you. So sometimes it's a matter of how you presented your case to the people. It's a matter of the kind of things you promised and whether you were able to deliver on those promises. So you may have done something, you may have done some works, but the people will compare what you said to what you have done. And if they don't match up, then there will be an issue. I believe that is the problem the current MP is facing, and we all need to help so that we don't send him again to the people for them to venge their anger on him, and for that reason cause us to lose the seat. So it's important that we change so that we present a candidate the people will buy, the people will be comfortable voting for, so that we are able to retain the seat in December 2024.
You mentioned the candidate that is saleable, one who can be sold. I think the final bit I'll ask you for now, before we get into the papers, is I hear MPs making lots of promises, sometimes outlandish promises, sometimes promises that if you can read the room, if you can read between the lines, you can tell are not really promises that will be kept. But one thing I found out, and being a lawyer, I'm sure you're fully aware that what the 1992 Constitution says a member of Parliament should do versus what MPs actually do are disproportionate. They are moving in some way in differing directions. Because yes, members of Parliament are fundamentally lawmakers, and that's it. But now you are doing things that likely DCs, MCs, even assembly people should do because our systems are not working properly. So you've said on promises, maybe Sylvester Tete and the other MPs before him have made their promises, some which have not been kept, for which reason people may be dissatisfied per what you're saying. But what promises are you making and can they be kept? That's my final bit to you before we swing into the papers.
Yes, what you've said is true. The people demand more than the MPs originally slated to do.
Originally assigned rules.
Exactly. Right. And the MPs too have made it possible for the people to demand more from them because they promise heaven on earth.
Are you not doing so?
Oh, no.
Because the trend is that if you don't, you lose.
I've only promised things that are achievable.
Like which ones?
Well, I've termed my vision the turnaround agenda for BNA, and it hinges on 5 pillars. First, leadership. Second, business and economic development. Third, people development. Fourth, infrastructural development. And fifth, welfare. I want to change the face of leadership within the constituency. I want to bring on board honest leadership, accessible leadership. You know, honesty in leadership is very important. As we said, you promise what you can do. You do not say what you cannot do. Some people think politics is about tricks, it's about deceit. But I have a different view. Politics is what you make it. If you want to make it look good, you can make it look good. And so you go and be honest enough to tell the people, this is what I'm able to do, this is what I'm not able to do. And so I have told them that I want to be a leader they can assess. Accessible leadership is very important. People complain once they vote for their MPs, they don't see them again until the next election.
Which is true.
Well,
on many counts.
Well,
the number of people who have told me that story. Just yesterday, I was somewhere and that conversation came up. Oh, what dear, Tumame, what Toman city away bus. You call MP has changed her line or his line. You go call tire.
Yeah. So that's the problem, and that's why I say I will be an accessible leader to the people. I live among them. I have my home there, permanent residence there. They come to me all the time because, as I said, I'm one of them. So I'm accessible to them. I return their calls, I receive their calls and all of that. That is the kind of leader we want. We're also looking at business and economic development. You know, we form part of the South municipality, and within the municipality, you have about 57% of people within the service and trading industry. These are people who need capital to expand their businesses. I want to make it my priority to team up with institutions that can help with credits and can help with grants. It doesn't have to come from my pocket. All I need to do is to mobilize people, engage the institutions that are able to do this, and bring them on board to help our people. And interestingly, some of our people come, they don't ask for free money. They ask for, credits to be able to build their businesses. And I believe building people to make them independent. If they are independent, if you teach them how to fish instead of giving them fish to eat, when they are hungry, they will take up their nets and go to sea and fish for themselves. So I intend to help people, help them with credits and grants so that they will be able to establish their businesses, become independent. They'll be able to support their wards when they are going to school. They'll be able to pay their own hospital bills, and then the pressure they put on you as MP will reduce. When you talk of people development, I'm looking at 3 things. Skills training, looking at educational support. I'm also looking at job placement support. Skills training, thankfully, I've come up with something we call the Obatampa project within the constituency, where I've trained close to 1,000 people for free in various skills sets. And interestingly, the Drivers Association at Galilea, one of the electoral areas, sent a delegation to me. They want to participate in the project, but they want a specialized training in how to rear snails. and that was not part of my models. So they came and said that we want to learn this, and that gave me a lot of motivation because I realized that the people.
So you're noticing it's having an impact.
Exactly. It's having an impact, and those are the things I'll continue to do. Our institute, what we call the MP's scholarship scheme, brilliant but needy students, those who need full
MP scholarship scheme.
Yes.
You're not the MP yet, but you've instituted
when I get there, when I get the nod, I will institute it. And these are things I should be able to do. Already I'm doing them. I support people for school. People come to me for school fees and all that. So when I become the MP, it's not something which is difficult for me to do. And as I said, the skills training set, I'm not the MP, but I train people for free. So if I become the MP, it's something I'll continue to do. Okay. And all these things are doable. And then helping people to get jobs. I intend to set up the job center, put up a job placement team. What they will do is to build up a database of the skill sets, the talents, the educational backgrounds of the people. And then, you know, when you go through these papers, you may see 1 or 2 job advertisements there. But how many of our people buy the papers and are able to see these? So what the job placement team would do is to comb through the dailies.
So basically disseminate
exactly. And yes, even help match job seekers to job opportunities. When you get the opportunity, they can even sit you down and coach you on how to attend your interviews and all those things. Okay. I believe these things are doable, and these are the kind of things I'm going to do. Also come up with welfare issues for the people. There are times people go into emergency situations, they need emergency support, emergency help. There must be a fund available for them to access to address some of these emergency situations. So I believe these are the things I'm telling them, these are the things I'm promising, and I believe they are doable and workable. Most importantly, I seek to consolidate.
If you could just wrap on that point so we move on to the papers, but you go ahead.
I seek to consolidate the support base of the party within the constituency. And how do I do this? You know, we've come from situations where we go to the polls and we get 0 for MPP within the constituency to where we now get hundreds and thousands of votes. It's taking the effort of our forebearers within the constituency to have brought us this far. And some of these people are aged, they are in the room, some of them are sick. And I believe that when we bring them on board, see the kind of help we can give them, or the kind of help we can give their children or their children's children, it will serve as a motivation for other people and make the party attractive to them. That if you join the MPP and you serve well and you are on retirement or you are aged, weak and cannot work, the party will extend a helping hand to you so others could be invited to join us. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Let's get into the papers now. At the tail end, I'll come to you with a few more questions on your candidacy. The Daily Graphic, no, these aren't our black stars. Pictured there, a lady with her hands on her head in typical mourning fashion, if you like. And the disappointment on the face of our Black Stars, a Black Stars fan. Then there's on the back page, Chris Hughton in line of fire. That story also there, tied to the debacle of the Black Stars. And as we know it now, the executive committee has taken the decision to dissolve the technical team of the Black Stars, and that is from the GFA. Stars AFCON journey hangs in the balance, and that is also there. So let's get into the papers now. The Daily Graphic. The signs were evident for long, but the depth of sinking of this Black Stars is unimaginable. The 2-2 draw with Mozambique last Tuesday in their final Group B clash at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations was only a nail that confirmed the rundown pedigree of Africa's once brightest football light. That Ghana failed to make it from a group that included Mozambique and Cape Verde is already an embarrassing story to tell, but to finish in the manner of the dreadful collapse against Mozambique and suffer a second straight group stage exit at the AFCON is a shameful reality of a diseased football nation. So that is it. Some have said, quote, they played with no motivation, no anger, and no communication. They played like they were just there for fun. Now on the back page, Ghana coach Chris Hughton has come under fire again, and his job appears to be on the line after his team's participation at the Africa Cup of Nations. Of course, we know that now, but that statement purportedly from the GFA, he, together with the technical team, the rest of the technical team, have been ousted. Are you an avid follower of football?
Not really, but I take interest in finding out what is happening around the world of football.
How do you feel about the Black Stars and the AFCON and everything in between?
Well, I believe the Black Stars are exiting.
They have exited.
Well,
thanks to Cameroon yesterday winning.
That is very unfortunate. You know, football is one thing that brings us all together as a people. It's the one major thing that unites us as Ghanaians. When Black Stars are playing, everybody supports. We all come together and push the agenda of the national team. And so it looks like we've come from a state of grace to grass. I believe we've won the African Cup of Nations a couple of times. So anytime Black Stars, yes, anytime the Stars are appearing, people support them. Even other nations support us because they believe that we are one of the forces to reckon with when it comes to football in West Africa. And so to see them exit from the group stage is very unfortunate. I believe the 3 games they played, we drew only 1 and lost 2.
We drew 2 and lost 1.
We drew 2 and lost 1 instead. Good. So we could have done better. I watched excerpts of some of these games, about 2 of them, and I realized that those ones we drew, anytime we scored, we were quick to concede. And so I found a bit of a problem with our defense and our ability to protect the goal post. And I think that it's one area we need to work seriously on. If you looked at the synergy within the players, it looks like they need to play together some more. They need to be able to communicate.
The synergy needs to be there.
Exactly. And so I believe that it looks like we always make ad hoc arrangements for the team. You call this one from there, you call that one from there. I believe we need to put them together for longer time, make them practice together for longer times, so that when they go out to play, they will play together as a team. You didn't see much of that in the games they played, and I believe it's very unfortunate.
Right.
And a lot of people are heartbroken to see them exit this early.
Right.
And so I believe that the management team should find a way of strengthening the team so that anytime we go for such international tournaments, we perform better than we have done in this.
Another comment that is coming through, I see Bendoche Malo, for example, saying, "Dear Ghana, please stop the insults. This young man, Andre Dedeyayu, and his brother Jordan, together with their famous father Abedi, have given more to Ghana than they've taken away. Be angry, but do not sin." And it goes on and on. We shall overcome. We can overcome. We must overcome. It has 1.1K likes, so that tells you something. Ghanaians tend to, the players did this and the players did that. I agree, but you've never been on the pitch. Sometimes it's easy when you are not on the pitch. I also be about dame. Encounter they say when you are there you may not see it. But the other angle is, it's a pretty complex problem. Do the coaches have a free hand? What is the influence of money in our sports? In fact, even politics in our sports, NDC and MPP, yes, it is there. It is there, even in our football. And do the coaches have a free hand? Or is it that at some point a list is given, Asamesi must play, this one must not play, and all of that? And do we make it really worth their while? the last time I was speaking to a football administrator who said he was on a flight with one of these players, and the player was basically going like, I remember baby, and we know the baby, the people we are referring to, will benefit from them. All these, together with the code system that has died in the country, I mean, the Odate Lamtes and the, what's his name? This gentleman, he had spindly legs, pretty tall. I'll remember. Is it Malam or something? I'll try and remember. I mean, back in our glory days, even in the youth tournaments, look at what fed the system. But now we don't have all of that. Until we remedy these, I don't feel we're going anywhere. It's not about a ball hitting the Ayu's hand. He couldn't have avoided it. We got a similar goal in that same match. It's about the entire thing not working. But anyway, let's get into other stories. On the international front, U.S. still committed to Africa. That's according to Anthony Blinken, he's Secretary of State. And then again, the Pentagon has no more money for Ukraine. For the first time since Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin established the international group to support Ukraine in April 2022, the United States will host the monthly gathering of about 50 countries out of money, unable to send the ammunition and missiles that Ukraine needs to fend off Russia. You can get more details of that story. But that's it for the Daily Graphic. Let's check out what you have in the Finder newspaper.
The Finder,
so with the headlines first.
The Finder has IMF's 15% inflation for 2024 unrealistic, as revenue enhancement measures fuels price build. That's from Professor Lord Mensah.
So maybe you could take the headlines, all the headlines,
very well,
before you get into any one of those.
TUC kicks against 15% VAT on electricity, and then withdraw VAT on electricity now. TUC demands. That's from the Daily Searchlight. And then the Ghanaian Times also has a similar story. And then the Finder has the one from IMF.
The new
15%. Exactly.
Okay. So which stories are you taking?
Let me look at the TUC stance against the 15% VAT on electricity. And the story is on page 9.
Page 9.
Yes. The Trade Union Congress has asked the government to withdraw the value-added tax on electricity on residential customers within 7 days. We are giving government up to January 31, 2024 to withdraw the letter. If by that time the Minister of Finance has not given the directive to Electricity Company of Ghana and Northern Electricity Distribution Company to stop the implementation of VAT on residential customers, we will advise ourselves. So virtually the TUC is sending a warning to government, withdraw the VAT on electricity for residential consumers, or they advise themselves.
How do you feel about that situation? Of course, Lifeline consumers, it's practically someone who is using about maybe 2 bulbs, and you can't add a fridge. If you add a fridge, you're out. If you have even a television set, per what I know, so it means you are using the bare bones. And how many people nowadays are using that? Which means that very few people are in the Lifeline market or in the Lifeline bracket, because it has been hiked. Even the consumption has been hiked down a bit. I don't know what you make of that, especially in these times. Inflation, cost of living, fuel prices, while it may have dropped from the 21 zone up to 23 for diesel, but it's still pretty high. What do you make of this? Is it a valid call from where you sit?
Yes, I think it's a valid call. You know, electricity is a basic amenity. It's not a luxury item. It's a fundamental need that everybody needs to have. And so making it expensive to assess is something we always need to be careful of. I think the TUC's call is in the right direction. I believe the Ministry of Finance should be able to look at this. 15% VAT on domestic consumers, I believe, could be on the high side. It's either it's reduced or even taken off altogether. That's not to rate or underscore the importance of VAT or the importance of tax. In developed countries, they rely largely on tax to develop their countries. And so we are not saying that taxing people is not good, but I believe taxing people on basic amenities is what the TUC is concerned about, and what I am tempted to agree with.
Taxes, everywhere taxes are collected, but when you tax people into the ground, there'll probably be nothing left to tax.
That's where the issue is. So I think I'll join voice with the TUC in making a passionate appeal on the Ministry of Finance to see what they can do about this, so that life becomes more bearable for our people. Okay. There are people who can afford it, but it's not everybody who can, so it should be looked at.
Even currently, I mean, when I purchase credits for my meter and the few gadgets I use, when I look at the consumption rate and how quickly the money is done, and the VAT and the badia, it's...
I have a friend who bought credit, and after a few days or so, it got used up, and he was asking whether there was a problem with the system.
There's no problem with your meter. It is what it is.
And so I think that it should be looked at. That's one area.
Can we check out the IMF's projection in the new finder? IMF's 15% inflation for 2024, unrealistic. Maybe you could look at Professor Lord Mensah's bit quickly.
That's on page 2.
Okay.
Page 2. And then respected figure in finance and a professor at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Lord Mensah, has voiced skepticism about the International Monetary Fund's recent projection of a 15% end-of-year inflation figure. The IMF forecasted a gradual decline to 8% in 2025. In an interview with the New Finder, Professor Mensah expressed his reservations, deeming the 15% year-end inflation prediction as unrealistic. He pointed to certain factors that, in his view, would hinder the realization of the IMF's projections. According to Professor Mensah, there are factors that will impede the realization of what the IMF has predicted. He stated that the pass-through effect of the revenue enhancement measures within the IMF program itself had a way of resulting into a price build. If you introduce taxes, the businessman will not absorb the tax. It will come through price increase to the consumer, so that at the end of the day, it is a way of increasing prices on the market, which will become inflationary. Professor Mensah explained. He explained further that the resumption of the country's debt servicing could force the exchange rate into levels that will trigger inflation, any pressures, because ours is import-driven economy, and right. Once the dollar rises, obviously, prices of imported products, including petrol, go up, which will feed into other things.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so interesting dynamics there. Any quick take on that?
Yes, so the IMF is giving us a projection, and then the experts are passing their comments on it. They say it is unrealistic based on certain factors. We have an import-driven economy, and so issues of inflation can go up and down depending on prices on the market, and especially when there are price increases. The businessman, definitely they will not absorb it. No businessman wants to lose profits because of tax. The tendency to pass it on to the consumer is there, and when it is passed on, these things push inflation. And so he believes that because of the nature of our economy and the way we do things here, that projection is unrealistic. And I believe he has a point there.
Okay. Let's get into some other stories very quickly. The Daily Guide newspaper. Judgment Day for coup plotters and coup in inverted commas. We know those who have been mired in this, and some of the names that come to mind. And now the 9, made up of civilians, junior and senior military personnel, as well as a senior police officer, are before the court on charges of conspiracy and abetment of crime and a substantive charge of high treason. This case has been going on forever. I don't know when we'll see some end to it. This group, and this was the group also that included Dr. McPalm, who lost his life a while ago. EC proposes November for elections. Now, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, G. Mensah, has advocated moving the presidential and parliamentary elections from December to November. She also wants the election day to be designated as a national holiday as part of the proposals for the change in timetable for the national elections. The EC boss made the proposals during the Inter-Party Advisory Committee meeting held on Monday, January 22, 2024. Then Nam1 pulled gun on us, that's according to a witness, and constituents highly rate Stephen Amwa. There's also man kills 3-week-old baby for rituals. Very, very, very sad situation.
Pathetic.
So here's what I'm going to run by you. 2 or 3 quick things. Constituents highly rate Stephen Amwa. I mean, this you can choose to stay away from. There is the Inshiaeso Constituency Development Initiative, and they conducted this survey. What I find interesting about it is the fact that while he's being rated highly here, 48.9% of respondents, mostly youth, assessed his performance as very good, with 21.3% rating it as excellent. Yet only yesterday we were looking at Global Info Analytics and their survey, which points to the fact that in terms of his approval rating, for those who say they'll vote for him, those who were spoken to were about 450. You would notice that 21% said they would, and then a certain Kennedy Kwesi Kankam has 5%, George Odum 25%. Now those who are undecided, a whopping 29%, and those undisclosed 44%. So which one will pan out? This one by Global Info Analytics, or the one conducted by the Inshiaeso Constituency Development Initiative? Only time will tell. But then EC proposes November for elections. You've just heard that story. What do you make of it? The SDA recently called for the date to be changed because it falls on their Sabbath. I've expressed my thoughts on this already, but what do you make of it? And shifting it to November, will that solve the problem? What if it falls on a Saturday or Sunday in those days as well? What happens?
That's a big issue. For me, the call by the SDA Church, I am motivated by that call because we have some religious sects that do not even see relevance in voting at all. So if you have a church that says we do not want to be disenfranchised, I'm moved by that call because they want to be patriotic. They want to, get involved in the choosing of leaders for our country. And so when they feel that there is something that will prevent them from exercising their right to vote, they need to bring it up for discussion and for redress if possible. And so I will congratulate the church for that move. But I believe there are a lot of issues. One of it is what you have said. What if it's changed to November? The years, as the years go by and the months and the days evolve, you know, you can have a December 7th or a November 7th falling on a Monday, a Sunday, or a Saturday.
Right.
These issues could come up time and again. And would we go back any time to review our laws to be able to make time for such sects or religious sects to be able to vote? But I believe that we still need to pay some attention to that call. Is it possible for us to give a range of days within which we could hold the election, so that when it happens to fall on a day which is not favorable to the people, we can immediately move to exactly. Right. So we need to consider that and give the EC some leeway to be able to make necessary arrangements when we are faced with such challenges. But I believe the call will invite Parliament to look at legislative reforms. And I'm asking myself, would they be able to get the numbers, the votes they need in Parliament to be able to pass this through? But I believe we need to pay attention to what they've asked for.
The Ghanaian publisher, that's how I wrap. Afenyo Markin donates 300 bunk beds to Winnie Sek. If the numbers were containable, if I may put it that way, and if we were doing the right thing, probably MPs wouldn't have to do that. Etiwa East holds Abana in high esteem, and Tampoli confirmed as Gushegu NPP parliamentary candidate. I just want you, in less than a minute, if you can manage, how are you funding your campaign? How are you bankrolling your campaign? What is your final message to your delegates? In 1 minute, if you can squeeze it in.
Well, thank you very much. My final message to...
I don't want you to move away from funding. How are you funding your campaign?
Well, basically, you know, one thing I've learned is you can't go into election without having personally prepared for it. In 2018, I contested at the national level. I was one of the aspirants for the national first vice chair position of the party. And when I finished that election, I realized that you can't go into an election banking your hopes on people to finance you.
Because of time, I want you to go straight.
People may support you, but you need to.
Are you getting funding from elsewhere? Are people supporting you financially?
Well, basically, I'm funding everything together with support from my husband and family.
Okay, so for now, it is basically a family affair.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
20 seconds, message to your delegates.
So, the good people of BNA, Saturday we are voting. Lawyer Vida, I am 3 on the ballot. We need a change. It's all about retaining the seat for the party. We've all worked so hard. This is a seat that the NDC has sat on before, and so we need to make sure that it doesn't go back to them. We need to be able to listen to the larger electorates, what they are asking for. They are asking for change, and so a change we must give them. And if we are giving them a change, we need to change and present a candidate who is saleable and who is marketable, a candidate they can identify with, a candidate who has been around for a long time and has served them for a long time, a candidate they can relate with. And I believe that candidate is myself. Vote number 3, vote for Lawyer Vida, vote for change.
Thank you.
DNA, we are changing to retain the seat. Thank you so much.
And that is Vida Ajekum Echampon. She is the MPP's parliamentary candidate, hopeful for Botiano, English, Amanfro constituency. We'll be heading into sports shortly, but this segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering you prostate screening if you're a man and fertility screening if you're a woman, all for free. Just reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra, at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Energy State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswe and Siamanzaba. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports is up next.